Today we're going to talk about friendships, and we're actually going to talk about the quality of friendships you have and the direct correlation that has to your mental and physical health.
As a matter of fact, poor relationships can lead to loneliness, which we all know. But I don't know if you know that loneliness leads to cognitive decline, dementia, heart disease, stroke, and high blood pressure.
And as you age, these conditions can have an adverse effect on how long you live. A recent study just found that the lack of strong connections is as bad, so pause for a second and listen to this, is as bad as smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
That's amazing. That really is, when we found out that fact, we were really moved by that. It's scary.
It is scary.
But there's hope. And today we're going to focus on how to create long-lasting, healthy, and meaningful relationships so that you can avoid a life of loneliness, which happens to so many people in retirement.
It sounds like such a big topic, but what we're going to do is we're going to break it down into 5 elements of meaningful relationships. And then at the end, stay till the end, we'll give you 7 tips on how to create your own social circle.
I think for us, when we retired at the end of 2018, the biggest change for us was the loss of our work friends.
Yeah, definitely.
And our clients and our strategic partners.
They filled up so much of our day and our week and our year.
It's funny how we both tell these stories. We'd walk in the morning. We both led our offices. We'd walk in. You chit-chat with everybody. How's everything going? How was your weekend? Check on the kids. You'd have lunch with them. You'd have meetings. You were with them 8-10 hours a day.
Yeah. My joke used to be I was the last person in line to get into my office in the morning because they were already lined up by the time I got there.
Right. And these relationships filled our lives. And when you and I were, in the beginning, we were both still working, but we'd come home at night and we'd spend a lot of our time at dinner talking about our work friends.
Yeah.
And how they were doing.
And how meaningful they were and how much they, gave from us, took from us, learned from us. We learned from them. Right. There was that whole great circle of enthusiasm around them. And then it ended.
Yeah, we weren't really prepared for the sudden closing of that door.
Right.
We just weren't prepared for it.
So we really had to take a deep dive and look at our other relationships and figure out what the elements of those meaningful, healthy relationships were that we still held.
Right, because we had all of this free time that we weren't going to work. We weren't seeing these people. It was you and I and a few of our friends, and we had, some personal friends and golf friends, and we went out to dinner with people and our kids' parents' friends.
But kids grow up too.
They do. So I think what we want to do is share with you some of the things that we did to go deeper on the relationships that we had. And then again at the end to talk about some ways in which you can find more relationships.
And I think it's important to note, as we were kind of honing these elements and doing some research of meaningful, lasting, healthy relationships, a lot of our clients added to this. And I think it's interesting that they added different elements. We started with 3, we ended with 5, because there was some overwhelming consensus as to what a meaningful relationship really was. So what's the first element?
The first element of having meaningful relationships is honesty and trust. Now, it sounds obvious, right? But this is really the number one element to have a long-lasting, and I love this word of yours, I'm going to... long-lasting, elastic relationships or friendships. That word elastic, we talked about that.
We did.
What does that mean when you brought it up?
So it was kind of this idea that you have these relationships and they're built on these elements, and we'll continue to go through the elements. But this word elastic, you have relationships where the people are in your life and then out of your life. But when you go back into their lives, it's like you never left.
Right.
Those relationships in particular have all these elements.
Right, that's true, they do. And this goes both ways. So everyone needs at least one friend that you can share anything with. Your deepest, darkest secrets.
Yeah, with no judgment.
And your struggles.
No ridicule. Share your secrets and have them be safe.
And have them be safe. And we need people like that. I mean, we do that with each other.
But you need somebody other than your spouse.
Somebody other than your spouse to do that. I do.
Yeah.
So to go deeper on honesty, You've got to be able to be completely honest with that person. And then when you can, it's very powerful. Not just for me or you, but for the other person.
And it's not just honesty in what you say and do, it's honesty in who you are.
Right.
They need to know who you are as a person,
Right.
full stop.
And again, on trust, it's got to be 100% confidential. You can't have one of your great dear friends share what you want to speak to them confidentially about and hear about it coming back another way. It just
Right.
doesn't work.
That's true.
And, a lot of times, too, with this honesty and trust, sometimes the person you're talking to, you don't really want advice. You don't want an answer. You just want them to listen.
Right.
And we talk about that a lot with our own relationships.
So that first element was huge,
Right.
honesty and trust. And there's a lot of prongs and a lot of research that backs that up. The second element of a meaningful friendship is shared experiences. Having connections that include good and bad experiences will deepen your relationships.
Yeah, there's issues like the loss of a loved one
Or
or
the
the
ga-
birth
or
of a grandchild.
Right, right.
So if you have friends that are going through some of these same experiences that you are, it's a great person, a trusting person to talk to. The marriage of your children, or the loss of a job.
Or the other side of it, the great new job you just got,
Or a
right?
promotion.
So, or a promotion, or a new company, or a major illness that you're battling, or a
Right.
major illness that you conquered.
Right,
You know,
right.
those are both kind of deepening points where you can deepen your relationship.
And when you're going through this with a friend, where you're open and honest about what you're doing, and they're giving you support, and you're giving them support,
And you
it's
you can
going
count
to bring
on
you
them.
closer.
Yeah, definitely. And distance doesn't really matter. You can, especially with social media and FaceTime and Zoom and even now hopefully getting to go see people.
Right.
Distance really doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's that elasticity in the
Right.
relationships. So the third element is humor. And I love this one. We've all heard the saying.
That's because you think you're funny.
I am funny. I'm like the funniest guy. Okay, well, I'm funny. You guys know I'm funny. Laughter is the best medicine. We've all heard this.
Right.
The Mayo Clinic actually says that laughter is going to keep you healthier. And there's science behind this. When you're laughing, watching a funny movie, or Jody's laughing at one of my jokes, it increases her oxygen level. You release endorphins, right? You feel that when that happens. It eases your pain.
Definitely improves your mood.
It does improve your mood. When I'm funny, you get happier.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And when even when we talk together about some of our friends that we can laugh with, we both laugh and we feel
Right.
better.
Right.
So, something as simple as watching a comedy once in a while.
Or even making fun of each other, poking
Yeah.
a little bit here or there, not in a mean-spirited way, but poking and being vulnerable and,
Right.
kind of making fun of yourself, just keeping it light, I guess, would be a good.
And I think, frankly, humor is really a big part of our relationship. We watch Ted Lasso is playing right now, and it's just an amazing, funny show. And for us to watch a show together and giggle really does pull us together.
So humor is that third element. And the fourth element is respect for each other. Healthy mutual respect for your alignments and your differences. Where you're judgment free and you can respect and embrace opinions, agree to disagree,
Right.
agree to agree, but keep it on a very respectful level.
And we're all different. No matter who your best friend is, they're different than you. And you want to respect those differences. As a matter of fact, you want to embrace them.
Right.
Because they're different. They bring something to you that you can't have on your own. So the fifth element of friendships that last really is open communication. And that in my mind, is a number 2 behind honesty and trust. But it's being able to have this open communication where you're always checking in. You're always asking them questions.
It kind of plays to that thing that we talk about a lot with each other, going out to dinner with other couples or
Right.
friends, being interested as well as interesting, right?
Right.
Checking in with people, asking them questions, learning to respond, not react.
Yeah, that's a big thing too.
offering help, encouragement, just kind of all in that general
A
category.
lot of the communication tools that we talk about on other videos as well,
Mm-hmm.
I think we should put in the notes the one that we did on respond versus react
Right, that's a good
down
idea.
below, because that's really helpful to us about that. So
hopefully these resonated with you. And I was thinking about this. Here's a really quick exercise. If you grab a piece of paper and you write down the 5 elements of friendship that we just went
Right.
through, and then actually identify your friends that fit that profile.
yeah, make a list. What's a great idea?
Absolutely. And then give them a call.
Tell them that you're on this special list and why they're on the list. You know, that will again deepen, but let them know that, you know, you're one of their top 5 friends and you're going to call them once in a while and all that. So it's great. Now, as we said, at the very end here, we want to talk a little bit about some of the things you can do to make new friends. Now, let's say, like Jody and I, we got married 12 years ago. We had to make new friends. And now we've moved to a new community. We need to make new friends up here.
So let's run through the 7
Yeah.
kind of tips that we have
Right.
on ways or places you can go meet
Right.
new friends.
And the first is volunteer. It's an easy one. There's so many organizations in your area that need your skills and talent. So find a way to volunteer.
Second one would be to take a class at your local YMCA or
Right.
at your religious institution or somewhere in town. Just take a class, learn something new.
With some like-minded people that
Right.
want to learn the same thing. That's always fun. The third is join a gym
And I would add, or a yoga studio.
or a yoga studio. Oh, I see. Gym or a yoga studio. Because, yeah, then you're going to meet people again, take some classes there.
And I think another one would be to join a club. A bicycle club, a walking club, a hiking club, a travel club, you know, some sort of club.
The fifth one, you mentioned this earlier, Jody, get involved in a faith community. If at this point in your life, if you want to start thinking about formal religion in a way, then you could join a church,
faith-based
a
community,
synagogue
yeah.
or something and meet people there.
You know, this is kind of a funny one, but getting involved with social media, you know, finding groups on social media, Facebook groups like the one we have, other Facebook groups, connecting with old friends,
Right.
local organizations. I think it's a great place to start to connect
We
with
have a
people.
community online, our Facebook community, so join that. The seventh thing is get a part-time job. You know, right now the unemployment rate is off the charts. There's so many people that, so many businesses that are looking for help. Yesterday we took our car in to get service and was dropped off by Barry, and Barry's retired, and he works 2 days a week delivering cars because he was at home and he was bored, and he likes to drive. So
And he
2
likes
days a
to
week,
drive good cars.
he likes to drive nice cars.
Yeah, yeah.
You have a nice car, I know. So anyway, these are real risks to being lonely, and we don't want that for you, and I'm sure that you don't want it. So we want you to make an effort to deepen the relationships that exist.
Or find new ones.
Yeah.
You know, don't assume that everyone out there has enough friends. You know, by reaching out, you might actually be helping someone else.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to say, because if you think, well, everyone already has friends, a lot of people don't, and loneliness is really bad. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please share with your friends, and please subscribe by clicking the subscribe button.
And finally, we mentioned it earlier, but join our free Facebook community. The link's in the notes below.
Thanks for listening, and we look forward to being with you again.